is in the Robin as we're backtracking runway 32 at Thames on the New Zealand's North Island. Keep taxiing towards the end of the runway. We're going to conduct a full VFR flight completely in uncontrolled Class G airspace. To begin, we'll depart Thames via the circuit and start heading southeast. Now slow to a walking pace and make a 180 turn to line up. Align yourself in the centre of the grass runway and come to a stop. There's no ATC here at Thames, so we'll broadcast what we're doing on the local traffic frequency. Thames traffic, Foxtrot Sierra Alpha taking off runway 32, Thames. Now set full power and take off from runway 32. Raise the nose to the climb attitude. Hold the climb attitude and fly straight ahead initially. We'll join a left circuit after takeoff. Right rudder to keep the ball centred. .300 feet above airfield level, flaps up. Passing 500 feet, so make a left turn to the crosswind leg, climbing to 1,000 feet circuit altitude. Level off at 1,000 feet and turn left onto downwind, heading 140. Thames traffic, Foxtrot Sierra Alpha downwind runway 32, leaving southbound Thames. We're on the downwind leg of the circuit. We're going to carry on straight ahead and begin our local flight and climb higher once we've left the circuit area. Maintain the circuit altitude of 1,000 feet for now. Now we've left the circuit to the south, climb straight ahead to 2,500 feet on heading 140. Keeping the Waihu River on your left, we're aiming for Te Aroha, which is the town just at the base of the tallest part of the ridgeline up ahead. Level off and maintain 2,500 feet, accelerate to cruising speed of about 100 knots. Set power to hold 100 knots and make sure you're trimmed out. Lean the mixture slightly if you haven't already to make the engine's fuel-to-air ratio more efficient. You may need to reduce power and retrim afterwards. now flying visually in uncontrolled airspace. At this altitude, we don't need to account for any cruising level restrictions, and we can simply remain clear of cloud. We can see the river starting to bend away to the left, set a heading of 150, pointing us between the dark marshland we see on the right and the high ground on the left. Once cruising VFR, make sure to keep a good lookout the whole time. We're in uncontrolled airspace below 3,000 feet, so anyone can be flying around in any direction and at any altitude, even without a radio. If we were to climb above 3,000 feet, we'd need to fly at a VFR cruising level. Heading east, we'd go for an odd altitude plus 500 feet, such as 3,500 feet. Traffic heading west would be at an even altitude plus 500, giving us some separation. Above 3,000 feet, we also need to have a minimum cloud separation of 1,500 meters laterally and 1,000 feet vertically. This is instead of simply staying out of the cloud and remaining in sight of the ground, as we're doing here at 2,500 feet. Keep a speed of 100 knots. Maintain 2,500 feet. If you look to the left, you'll see the town of Payaroa, and just beyond that a gap in the ridgeline called the Waihi Gap. Watch for traffic going in or out of there and continue heading 150. See the highest peak on the left side? That's Te Araha town just below it. Take us overhead Te Araha. When flying VFR, there are minimum altitudes that come into play. Unless we're taking off or landing, the rules are that we can't get any lower than 500 feet above the ground or any person, vehicle, building, etc. That minimum becomes 1,000 feet if crossing a built-up area such as a town like Te Araha. For really big towns and cities, another rule comes into play, which is the glide clear rule. This means that we must always be able to glide beyond any built-up area and be able to land at a safe place in the event of an emergency, such as an engine failure. It also applies once we start heading out over water. You have to be able to glide back to solid ground for a landing, which limits how far off the coast we can go in this kind of aircraft. We're going to carry on ahead towards Te Araha before heading towards our next airfield, Matamata. We've reached Te Araha, so now carry on ahead for a short distance, keeping the ridgeline to your left. As we get closer to the ridgeline, become mindful of turbulence. If the wind is strong and is coming from the other side of a ridge, you can find severe downdrafts, so always give high ground some extra space when downwind of it. If you look to your right at about 1 o'clock, see the long straight road? Turn to heading 160 and follow the road, keeping it on your left. Follow this straight road and it'll take us towards Matamata Airfield. The road is an example of a line feature. Line features such as roads and railways are great for following, but if crossing over them, be mindful that they don't give precise lateral guidance unless there's a standout feature, such as a junction or a town. When following a line feature, keep it on your left side, as this makes it easier to see from your seat. Traffic following the line in the other direction should also be doing this, giving you some separation. We're going to enter the circuit at Mata. Although it's uncontrolled, we still use our radio to broadcast our position and intentions and listen for other traffic. To enter an uncontrolled circuit, we use the standard overhead join, which has us arrive overhead the airfield at circuit altitude plus 500 feet, looking down onto the airfield to observe the runways and look for any other aircraft. The live side of a circuit is where the circuit pattern is. The dead side is the other side of the runway, which is where we do any descending down to circuit altitude. The road we're following kinks off to the left, but we're going to keep heading 160 as it takes us straight towards Mata. Start descending to 1,700 feet. We make a radio call before we reach the overhead to give advance notice to any other aircraft in the circuit. Mata traffic, Foxtrot Sierra Alpha, 1,700 feet from the north for overhead join at Mata. Looking just left of the nose, you can begin to pick out the wide grass runway of Mata, with the white buildings to the western end. We're going to use runway 28, making a right-hand circuit for training. Maintain 1,700 feet and turn left slightly to fly over the runway 28 threshold, about heading 130. nearing the runway 28 threshold, start a right-hand turn and I'll call overhead. Mata traffic, Foxtrot Sierra Alpha overhead for runway 28, Mata. Now we're crossing the runway, we're entering the dead side. Start descending to circuit altitude 1,200 feet and turn right to cross over the upwind end of runway 28, near the white buildings. Mata Foxtrot Sierra Alpha descending dead side 28, Mata. Keep the turn going towards heading 010 and aim to cross the upwind end at circuit altitude 1,200 feet. Bank angle. Bank angle. Now we're crossing the upwind end, we should be 1,200 feet and about heading 010 as we enter the live side. Now make the right turn onto right downwind, heading 100, maintaining 1,200. Bank angle. Mata Foxtrot Sierra Alpha, right downwind 28 to land, Mata. Downwind checks, brakes pressured and released, undercarriage fixed, mixtures full rich, fuel on and sufficient, instrumentations T's and P's are in the green, and cabin secure. Notice how it's a little harder to see on a right-hand circuit. This is why they're typically made to the left. downwind for 28 is heading 100. Runway looks about 45 degrees over your right shoulder, so make your right descending turn onto base, slowing to 80 knots. Once inside the white airspeed band, take first stage of flap and hold 80 knots on base. Matamata's runway 28 is grass and unmarked. It also has unusual dimensions, being about triple the width of a normal runway, at 137 metres wide. Make your own turn onto final and judge your approach with this in mind. Matamata, Foxtrot Sierra Alpha, final 28 for full stop, Matamata. Bring the speed back to about 60 knots and take landing flap. We'll make a full stop landing. As this grass runway is unmarked, choose an aiming point roughly where you'd expect to find the runway numbers and keep that locked in your windscreen. The wideness of this runway will give the illusion of being low, so try to account for this. Power back and flare attitude, look to the far end.